On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, we recap OU's gross win over Kansas in the National College Football Roundup. We recap the other big games of Week 8 of college football, including Oklahoma State's loss to Iowa State. And we finish up by giving you our winners and losers of the weekend. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right. Our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Monday, October 25th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Ikard and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and your health and safety are Riverwind's #1 priorities. There are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack, blackjack match, roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And Fridays in October from 6 p.m. to midnight, you can win your share of $80,000 in cash and bonus play in Riverwind's $80,000 Monster Mansion of Money promotion. Drawings are every 30 minutes. If you need help finding your way, just visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, still the one. Now we're recording this Sunday night. Please leave us a 5-star review and a nice comment because we are dedicated to you people. I am missing the Thunder home opener to record this podcast. Now, they're down 20-something in the fourth quarter right now to the 76ers. So I do not regret my decision at all. But just so you know, Ted, I'm dedicated to you. I'm dedicated to this podcast.
Big time. That's big time. I appreciate that, and I think we appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's about sacrificing, right?
Yeah, well, and I'm sure you got a lot to say too.
Yeah. Yeah, this isn't what we were gonna, like, hey, we'll record Monday and put it out. No. All right, man. Let's get to it. And I feel like we have to put this disclaimer out there every time. If you are looking for a podcast to say that all of the kids should lose their scholarships and they all should be kicked off the team and all that stuff, this is not the podcast for you. However, do you want to start talking about the defense? Yeah. I feel like that's where we got to start, man.
Let's do it.
OU does beat Kansas, but it was gross, to say the least. And I don't know how else other to say it than it was really bad defensively. I mean, really bad. And Ted, do we talk about the injuries? Do we talk about how, playing that way with Sooners on your chest is not acceptable? Like, where do we start, man?
We can start with injuries because I do think it's a factor. I think we're missing some good players, some experienced players, specifically in the secondary. We're missing Woody Washington at corner, but he's been out for an extended period now. We're missing Turner Yell, who's our most experienced safety, and some guys across the front. But that's to me not the real issue. Obviously, I think we'd play better defense if those guys were out there, but they're not. And I don't care if you're playing Kansas or you're playing the Kansas City Chiefs or you're playing a local high school team. If you don't know how to line up, if you don't know who you're keying off of, if you don't know how to adjust to motions, if you don't know how to anticipate plays, blocking schemes, situations, if you can't do that, you can't play good football. I don't care who's on the field. I don't care if you have all your starters. I don't care if it's all twos. I don't care if it's a mix between them. You have to understand those things. You can't even play average defense in college without knowing those things. That's like where you start. Like whenever you're really good at all of those things, then you're average. whenever you can beat blocks and whip people in one-on-one, then you're good. But you have to at least start at knowing where you're supposed to be and what your responsibility is.
And as I watched, because I was curious. Normally I kind of leave the defense up to you. As I went back and watched it, there are times, and I don't have the extensive defensive knowledge that you have, but there's times where I don't even know what they're in from a coverage standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, sometimes a lot of the coverages get messy based on a formation, but a lot of times it's, I think, I know guys don't know where they're going and what they're doing, what their responsibility is. And we end up having guys that are floating through a coverage, and it doesn't look like a coverage. It just looks like bodies like just meandering around the field. I don't know, man. There's too much wrong to talk about the individual plays that went bad. They all went bad. I mean, there's very few plays on that entire defensive, side of the ball where you look at it and say, we're good here. Like this is all locked in. On almost every snap, there's guys in the wrong gap. There's guys lined up wrong. There's guys we're talking about just where you're supposed to be. All right, we haven't even talked about the defensive line getting drove off the ball or guys missing tackles in the open field, or we haven't even talked about that. We're just talking about being in the right place. That's a frustration point. And I got to tell you, man, we are 8-0. We're 8 games into the season. And number one, I don't know how in the world we're 8-0. We are. That's a great thing. Celebrate it. Be happy that you win. But that ain't winning football, man. It's just not. It's not winning football. And my question is, how are we this deep in the season with guys that have been here for multiple years? There's some freshmen sprinkled in there, but how are we this deep in and we still don't understand responsibilities, where we're lining up, what we're doing? I don't know how that happens.
I mean, you have to think it's a blend. It's probably a little bit of both, but you have to question the coaching, right? Mm-hmm. Because the coach's job is to have the kids prepared for all of that stuff. But also, you and I both know that sometimes the coaches prepare you very, very well, and the kids mess it up.
Well, the stuff that I'm seeing go wrong out there, it's not stuff that I don't think they're getting told. I know they're getting told, because you can't play the defense without some of these. These are it's day one core principles of how these coverages work. And it's not even there. It's not, I don't know. I don't know, man. To me, it means that the players aren't taking it seriously and aren't prepared for what's happening. I mean, I don't want to just skip over the coaches, because the challenge is finding a way with the time that you're allotted and the guys that you're given. You have to find a way to hammer home the message to where they go out and play the way that you expect them to, and at a minimum, be in the right places in the right call. And that's just flat out not happening. I don't know.
Okay, so I went through and watched all the plays on defense, and I wrote down some questions for you because I figured you were going to be angry after you watched it, because when they play bad defense, it makes you angry.
I stopped watching it. I quit. I didn't even make it through the whole thing. I watched about half of it and said, I quit. And then said, well, at least let me watch the last touchdown drive. And then I was like, thank God I didn't watch the stuff in between when I quit and where we are now, because I know it's the exact same.
You stopped watching it?
Yeah. I mean, I was like, what's the point? Oh, well, not reading this properly again. We're not stepping right. We're not reading the right keys. We're not adjusting to the motion on time. We're really late. Our footwork is horrible at corner. It's every single play. So it's like, felt like I was banging my head against the wall.
Congratulations, defense. You broke Teddy. Congratulations. Okay, so this is the first question I wrote down. As a defensive guy, when a team wins the toss and chooses to receive, does the defense view that as a challenge? Because everyone defers, right? I mean, that's now not everyone, but I always viewed it as an offense saying, "Hey, we think your defense sucks. We want the ball." Yeah. And 14 plays and 9 minutes and 15 seconds later, a couple offsides penalties later, Kansas is up 7-0. And I was like, oh, maybe that's why they wanted the ball.
Right. Well, yeah, I'm guessing that they saw something where they felt like they could go out there and set the tone. And, we started off, we had a couple of positive plays in a row where we didn't fit it right, but we got stops in some good spots. The defensive line was firing off the football. And I think the first one was like a 3rd and 8 or something like that they completed. And that's whenever it just fell apart. And yeah, I take that as a challenge. Usually I always wanted to go on the field first, just because the longer you stand there on the sideline, number one, you get cold. You're not as warm as whenever you first get out there and everyone's running up and down the field, getting warm. And number two, it's like you get all the anxiety and the butterflies, like just get us out on the field and get that over with. So yeah, I that's definitely a challenge from the other team whenever they choose to put you in that spot.
This isn't a question, but it should have been 14-0. It was a really stupid hold by one of Kansas's offensive linemen. I think it was the right guard, 54. Like, Bean would have scored if he wouldn't even touched.
I sent you the play on that one that I looked at and like what went wrong. It's like that is the easiest play to defend in that coverage ever. There's no way that play should get 1 yard. Not one. But it's across the board defended horribly. Defensive linemen straight up jumping and running around a block. We've got a corner that has a wide receiver that he's aligned on that is like 1.5 yards away from the core. And there's no communication between the corner and the safety. Like, hey, this dude's about to come hit you in the side of the head. You got a crack coming. Okay, crack, replace corner. And it's a dead play. It's dead. I don't know. It's frustrating. That play, I don't know, whoever is the greatest team in the world with the best offensive line, the best H-back, should not be able to get 1 yard against that defense with that play. That's a sucky play. It's terrible. Everyone in the world knows what's coming. We've got an H-back that's off the ball, that's come across the formation. At that point in the time, probably 25 times already. So we should have like a little cross key going on, and we should be kind of aware that here he comes. He's going to pull us right to the play. We're going to have to adjust our gaps on the fly. Totally oblivious. No clue. Everyone false steps one way. Defensive lineman jumps around. Safety gets hit in the side of the head by the receiver who's right here, and the corner's like drifting back into the end zone. I don't know, man. And that's just one play. That's the rest of the first half. It's some type of sequence like that is pretty much how every play went. I don't know, man. It's all bad. And I don't know how it got that way. I don't.
Okay. I'm just going to keep going on my questions list because you're upset, and I hate seeing you like this. I didn't want to see you like this. I hate seeing
them play like that because it's not who they are. I don't know. They approached it like it was Kansas, I think, I don't know.
Okay, this is my next question I wrote down. Is this all of a sudden an undisciplined group on defense? You had how many veteran guys get offsides calls, right? What did they have? 5 offsides penalties?
Yeah.
And you had guys running wide open in the secondary, which I put in the discipline category. Like, if you get beat, you get beat. If a guy catches a ball on you, he catches the ball. And if you miss a tackle, okay. But, dude, you can't have guys just running wide damn open. Like, what?
Yeah. Well, they're definitely undisciplined. Is it all of a sudden undisciplined? I don't know. I mean, we've had some stuff that's been coming up for quite some time. They just the defense does not communicate. Game 1 of the year with the linebackers, I was talking about whenever you have a running back that's man to man, or you're man to man with him, and there's a bunch set or a tight split, you have to know that something is coming to pick you off. Like, that's discipline knowing that, but it's also discipline by people communicating that. Hey man, I'm man to man. We're tight to the core. You got the back. Be ready to either go under or go over. And as a linebacker, I'm saying the same thing. Hey, beat him up. I'm coming over the top of you. Play off so I can get underneath. Like, that's all that was game 1. And here we are against Kansas in game 8. And there's still no discussion on the team between like what's about to happen or what we're doing. I would say it's undisciplined. I mean, you can look at a million examples of that.
Okay, it probably falls under the undisciplined category then, but how in the hell on so many occasions was there no quarterback player? Jason Bean, whether it was different forms of keeping the ball, like, it looked like no one was responsible for the quarterback. How's that possible?
Because no one it's the same tight end coming across the formation on almost all of the plays. It wasn't just like a traditional, they're isolating one guy on the backside and he's just pulling it. They're bringing the tight end across, which is creating another gap over there. But that makes it easier because it pulls everyone across. Like, you don't just guess and follow that guy. They're taking a gap from one side of the ball and moving it to the other after the snap. So we have to adjust our gaps. The guy that was outside this H-back over here, when he comes across, he now inserts as like the A-gap player maybe. The guy that was the A-gap player, whenever he comes across, is now coming across to the B-gap player. The guy that was over here that was the B-gap player, whenever he comes across, if he's like the outside in cover 3, he's the flat player, he's leverages this guy. This is his new gap coming across, and he just stays outside of it, and everyone fits. Lo and behold, you have every gap accounted for, and no one ever was reading the keys and coming back with the new gap across there. That's why not only was there not someone on the quarterback, but there's no one within 10 yards of the guys, of the blocker and the quarterback. They're like all the way up to the third level of the defense at times.
I can already see there's going to be, you know how the people have been asking for the whiteboards?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be some YouTube comments about what you just did with your hands. Like, I have no idea what he was saying, but it sounds bad. Just know it is.
Yeah. I thought about drawing something up and putting it on some paper, but I was like, well, what play do you draw up whenever they're all wrong? You know, it's just, I don't know.
Okay, this is not one I thought I would write down, but as I watched it defensively, maybe you saw it differently, but how concerned should we be that Kansas's wide receivers look more athletic than our secondary players?
Well,
it seems, I'm just saying, and hey, all the respect in the world to how Lance Leipold's team played. I do want to make that clear. I thought they battled their asses off, but they are arguably the worst program in the Power 5. And I think now that they are, Rutgers seems to have it rolling a little bit by their standards. How did they look so much more athletic at the skill positions when the Oklahoma defense was on the field?
Poor technique. mental mistakes. You can't use your athleticism if your technique is all out of whack. We got DBs. Part of it is, this is kind of where the injury thing comes in. Bowman's playing corner, and that's not his normal spot. So whenever he's in corner, a lot of times he's in man-to-man and he's got a wide receiver that's coming right up at him. He's backpedaling and then turning his hips and getting out of his back pedal way too early. So whenever you do it, like if it's third and, which by the way, we were in third and medium way too much. So it makes this even more difficult. But, whenever he does that, he's trying to get you, like the goal for the receiver is to get you to flip your hips. And if you're doing it whenever there's like a 5-yard cushion between the two of you, he's going to absolutely kill you because he's trying to get you to turn your hips. And that's whenever he's going to like stop and turn around and the ball's going to be there. A lot of it was that our feet at corner was terrible. It was really bad. And at times, there was a lack of understanding of what the route concept is going to be. Boot has been run in football since way before I was ever playing. And that was forever ago, probably 50 years or more. And you almost, as long as I've ever seen it, you get almost the same thing. You get a flat, some type of over, and to the boot side, you get a comeback. And like it's boot, we're the corner, we're turning and getting out of there. And like we expect and sometimes you can get a double move off of that, but like we're gone. And it's like, here's the comeback for the first down with no one within, 8-10 yards of him, because we don't have an understanding of what's about to happen and what route they're about to run. So it's a mix of all that. Bad technique, guys playing out of position, not an understanding of the concepts that you've been defending all day and what's about to be coming at you.
So I think some OU fans, some of the people that listen to this podcast, are probably wondering why there was so much space for some of those completions. And I think you just kind of laid it out right there.
Yeah, well, yeah, some of it. I mean, that's the one whenever there's at least someone in the frame. The other ones are whenever we have no understanding of what's going on. And I hope so. I mean, when we're in the red zone and we got a nickel that's over the number 2 wide receiver, and on the snap, he just bails and he's gone. Like he's going out over the top of number 1. It's like, it's a throw. There's no way that's the defense. There's no way that's the coverage. It can't be. Just flat out cannot be the coverage, especially in the red zone when everything's more condensed. Like I can understand there may be some type of coverage that you run on like 3rd and 55 where you absolutely leave the number 2 guy streaking down the middle of the field, but not in the red zone. So that's a mental mistake. So it was the perfect mix of mental mistakes and technique issues and lack of conversation between players as to what's about to come. Everything that could have happened did happen.
The Murphy's Law game for the OU defense. Okay, I feel like you've expressed your frustration with what went wrong. We tried to look at the positives when we can. Any positive takeaways?
Key Lawrence played well.
Who?
Key Lawrence.
Good.
Played well.
Yeah, I thought, especially, I thought he was decisive, man. Played with speed. I always say velocity, like coming downhill, seeing things clearly, knowing his responsibilities. I thought out of anyone, he was the bright spot.
Well, yeah, it's amazing what happens with a little bit of anticipation. My God, if you say, we're in cover 3, you have one high safety, the other one's low in the box. on a motion across, a lot of times teams rock and roll. Like now the other safety is going to have to come down and the other one comes back. It's like Key Lawrence is the only person on the field that's anticipating a motion. And like Pat Fields is lined up. There goes the motion. He's the new deep safety. It's like, oh, what do I do now? Oh, if a guy motions, then I go back. Okay, let's go back. Key Lawrence is already on it, and he's already moving and making that adjustment. And like trying to signal to him as it's happening. It's just like, if you just anticipate some things, you look like Ed Reed out there. You know, he's a big, fast, physical guy. And that's what happens when you're prepared and understand where you fit in the framework of the defense. You can't make it harder than it is. You're either a middle third guy or you're a flat player. It's that easy. Now, there's different stuff in between, but I mean, just grasp that concept and understand the few things that may happen on every single snap that can take you out of what you are like really honed in on right now. If you wait until it happens and then it catches you by surprise, you're going to give up like 500 yards of offense to the 130th ranked offense in the country like we did.
Anything else? Anything else you'd like to say about the defensive performance?
No, that's it. That's the one guy.
All right. I will say that it's probably in the section that you had reached pink anger, so you turned it off. They did play a little more straight with the DL at times. Like they just say, this is your gap. Be physical. Get off blocks. We're not going to do all the moving and twisting. And thought they did some pretty good things up front when they played it that way. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah. Good. That should happen against Kansas.
I'm sorry, man. I can tell. It ruined your day watching it again. I can tell. I'm sorry.
It took me forever to get through like 30 plays. It's like there's 11 guys out there, and it's like, well, and I don't know the call, so it takes me a second to figure out the call. And then it's like, well, why is this D lineman like it's almost every guy through the entire thing is wrong. So it's like, it takes me forever to watch the play. Even on a play that like a 1 yard gain in the running game, it's like, well, hang on a second. It shouldn't look like that. And you go back and you try and you have to look at where it went wrong and like dissect it from there and work your way back. And it's just, I didn't have the brain power today, I guess. It's like, if I was watching the same thing over and over, well, here wrong. I should have just skipped forward, I guess. Glutton for punishment with that first half.
Teddy was in his personal hell today watching the defensive performance. Yeah. Okay.
We'll move on to the offense. If you ever want to put me in prison and like cruel and unusual punishment, make me watch guys not fit the split zone properly. That's it. That's my hell.
Well, it's not like the offense is running split zone at all. So it's not like OU's defense ever sees it in practice.
Yeah, it's only the number one play in college football. I mean, that's it.
The only place to stop when you're road tripping is Love's Travel Stops. Love's has over 560 locations in 41 states, offering 24-hour access to clean and safe places. And a big announcement is coming this week. I'm just telling you, big announcement from our friends at Love's. Whatever your road trip needs are, Love's has it. Fuel, fresh food, drinks, and my favorite, Java Amore. That coffee is fantastic. Love's also has you covered if you forget your phone charger or headphones. They've expanded their mobile to-go zone so you can grab any of that stuff there. Make sure you download the Love's Connect app for exclusive offers from today's most popular brands. The Love's Connect app also includes a route planner and store locator. When you see that red neon heart on the highway, stop in and say hi at Love's Travel Stops. For a full list of what Love's has to offer, visit loves.com and make sure you bank at First Fidelity Bank. First Fidelity Bank is a full-service financial institution based in Oklahoma, tailored solutions for all your personal and business needs. Checking accounts, saving accounts, home loans, and much more. They do it all. Whether it's online banking from your computer or mobile banking from your phone, everything is stress-free with FFB. Making mobile deposits, paying bills online, and moving money to different accounts could not be easier. First Fidelity Bank also provides free ATMs worldwide, making banking convenient wherever you are. They also give back to the community. FFB donates a total of more than $500,000 to local charities and educational foundations. Make your life easier and go bank at First Fidelity Bank. Visit ffb.com for more information. Okay. The offensive side of things against Kansas. I feel like we just have to continue to remind everyone it's Kansas. So, my first thought when it comes to the offense, okay, when your defense gives up an opening drive like that, man, you got to go answer. You got to put a drive together, especially since you're playing Kansas, who I stand by this. They have the worst defense in the Power 5, and I don't think it's close. You can't run 5 plays and then be off the field. You just can't, man. I mean, they just went on a 9-something drive and shoved it down your defensive face, man. You've got to answer. So that was my first thought. But then Kansas goes on another marathon drive. And it should have been a touchdown if it wasn't for a dumb hold by one of their guys. But they get a field goal. You're down 10-0. You got to go answer, right? You can't go 3 and out with an interception. Like, you can't, when your defense is getting its ass kicked like that, you have to show up. Now, luckily it was Kansas, so you could come back in the game, but against a good team, like, you can't start that slow when the defense is struggling. Now, you could say, hey, the defense needs to do their part. Yes, that's true, but we all saw the first couple drives of the game. So that was my initial response rewatching. I was like, man, you got to put some drives together there. But it's just not how you want to respond when your defense is struggling. Okay. Now that I've got that, the first half was really, really bad. Really bad. But what did they run? 17 plays? Something like that. But no points. You get shut out by Kansas. That cannot happen. It cannot happen. Now, I will say, if you're looking at positive stuff, like, hey, 5 possessions in the second half, 5 touchdowns. That's really, really good. I mean, it's really good. Now, we can talk about some of the things that led to those touchdowns, and you talk about things that weren't supposed to go the way that they did, Ted. I mean, holy shit. But I think the easiest way to do it is to just go through the positions like we have in the past. So let's start with quarterback. Let's start with the positive stuff for Caleb Williams. It didn't go well in that first half, but he was able to orchestrate those 5 touchdown drives in the second half and win the damn game. And he had the plays that won him the game. And that also included some really nice touchdown throws, right? He puts it up there for Hazelwood to go make a play on it, touchdown. He throws an absolute dart to Jeremiah Hall on the pop pass, pinpoint accurate throw, touchdown. It's really good, man. It's a really good ball. Now, everyone is talking about the play where he took it from Kennedy Brooks. That may be the smartest play I've ever seen in a football game. And I straight up asked him, hey, did you know you could do that? Did you know that went against rules? He said, yeah, I knew I could do that. So now, was it an instinctual play? Was it a natural reaction? Yes, but that's one of the smartest plays. And I don't care if he's a true freshman. I don't care. I would be beyond impressed if that was a redshirt senior that did that. That's one of the smartest plays I've ever seen in a game, Ted. And who knows what happens if he doesn't make that play?
I do. We lose the game. Right? We lose the game. We're not stopping them at that point. Why would we? Why? I think we lose the game. And that's like it's a good play. And it's awesome that he made it. But I'm more stuck on, like, it's a can't miss moment, and we're stuffed on a 4th down. Lincoln Riley has to, in a tight game, a 1-score game, has to go for 4th and 2 or 3 on his own end of the field because the defense just got I mean, roasted on the drive before, went right down the field, scored touchdown on us. We looked like we had no clue what was going on. Where he's got to go for it on his own end of the field, and it's stuffed. The play's dead. It's dead, and he makes that play and saves the game. I mean, I think that rarely can you point to like one thing that happened in the game to say like this won it and this, this would have won or lost the game. It was that moment right there, I think.
Yeah. So Caleb Williams continues to be a big time difference maker for this football team. Okay, now that we've gotten the positive out of the way, let's talk candidly about the way that he played. So his other touchdown run was it 4th and 3. Awesome individual effort, but he shouldn't have bounced it. He bounces it out to unblocked guys. The hole is there. I mean, they're running the counter play. Now it's not the GT counter. Instead, it's the backside guard and the backside H-back. So it's actually GH counter before the quarterback. And the hole is right there, right where the play is designed to go. There is a large hole for him to run through. And he, for whatever reason, didn't run through it. He bounces it outside. Now, luckily, he's really talented running the football. He makes 2 guys miss. He takes it to the house. That's awesome. But I'm telling you, the ball needs to go where it's designed to go. Because if he does that against a team, if he does that against Oklahoma State, if he does it against Baylor, if he does it against Iowa State, he's going to get tackled behind the line of scrimmage because they got better players on the edge than Kansas. So I'm telling you, yes, was it an awesome play? Yes, was it a huge play in the game? Yes, and yes. Did the ball go where it was supposed to go? Hell no. It didn't. Yeah. And I'm just telling you, if it wasn't against Kansas, that's a 0 or negative 1 yard run.
Yeah.
That's just the truth.
Yeah. And he's been able to get away with some stuff. Like he's been able to get away with, throwing it just down the field whenever guys are in decent position, just throwing it up and letting the guys go make a play. And it's always, just go let your guys make plays, be aggressive, push it down there. It's always like that until, you turn it into an interception whenever there's really no reason to do that.
Okay. That is a good transition into talking about how he played in the passing game. He didn't play well at all in the passing game. Mm-hmm. And I know you look at the numbers and you're like, what? Really? He didn't play? I'm telling you, Kansas was playing a lot of deep drop zone coverage, right? It's what they did. And when a defense does that, the key for a quarterback, in my opinion, is to be very disciplined with your eyes. Because when teams are playing coverage like that, the windows become small, right? Because there's so many people back there. It's just how it works. So the windows are tighter. Your eyes and your timing with the football are the key. So you have to work through your reads quickly. You have to play with disciplined eyes. You can't just be wandering, looking around. Like, he did not play with disciplined eyes. I mean, you can see it on the tape. And when he did put his eyes in the right spot for his first read, he stared a little too long a lot of the time, and it slowed him down, and it prevented him from getting through his full progression. And then a lot of times he started with what Kansas was doing from a coverage standpoint. He's putting his eyes in the wrong place first. And when you start your progression as a quarterback in the wrong place, it's really hard to get him in the right place and catch up. So he did that way too often. The interception, you mentioned it. It's a perfect example. His eyes are in the wrong place. They're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
They should be looking at Jaden Hazelwood on the deep over route. And if he would have had his eyes in the right place, he probably throws that. And Hazelwood had a step. Who knows if they connect or not. But his read there, if he doesn't like Hazelwood, it's to put his eyes to the flat to Kennedy Brooks, who could not have been more open. I mean, a guy, you don't get more open on the football field than Kennedy Brooks was on that play. So if he didn't like Hazelwood on the deep over, then hey, Kennedy Brooks in the flat. Throw him the damn ball.
Yeah.
Throw the ball. I mean, you missed, you put your eyes in the wrong spot, so you missed your initial read. Check it down. Play disciplined football. That's, and the frustrating part about this, and that's not the right word, but these are common mistakes for a freshman quarterback. They are common. But with the way that OU's defense is playing, they don't have time for him to work through common mistakes. With the way the defense is playing, they need him to improve as a passer at an uncommon rate. So he's got to look at the way he played in this game as a passer and learn from it and make those changes. Now, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a process, like playing quarterback for Lincoln Riley in that system. It's hard, man. I'm telling you, it's hard. But he's got to get better quick. With the way that you laid it out pretty well, Ted. If OU's defense is going to play that way, they need Caleb Williams to be spectacular. And he was not spectacular in the passing game against Kansas. He was.
Well, no, he was not. Here's the real troubling part of it for me is the way Kansas played this football game. It's not that hard. It's shocking to me that everyone doesn't do it, but that's the formula to beat OU, right? Is to, inch it down the field on offense, and on defense, play big zone coverage and force everything underneath and wait for them to make the mistake. And the Texas and TCU games are the outlier of teams playing us that way. Texas was super aggressive. TCU was not as aggressive as Texas, but still really aggressive. And those things that Kansas was, that's exactly what Baylor and Iowa State and Oklahoma State to some degree are going to do to you. And they are way better at it than anyone we've seen so far by a million miles.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. So, all right, let's get through the other guys, skill guys. So no Mario Williams, no Mike Woods. That clearly was not helpful at all. I will say that reverse for Trayvon West, that was a massive play in the football game.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas had that just gone on a 10-play drive and punched it in to go up 17-7. All of a sudden you looked up like the entire third quarter was gone. That was a massive play. And they cashed in on a couple plays later. Like, I'm not, clearly the long touchdown run for Caleb Williams was a bigger play than that. Him having the wherewithal to grab it from Kenny Brooks was the biggest play of the game. But you talk about a swing of momentum that they desperately needed in that football game. That was it, man.
Yeah, and I loved the call by Lincoln Riley. Now, the pessimistic side of me is like, why do we need gadget plays against Kansas and to get a spark offensively? But the other part is they had just scored. That stadium, what amount of people were there? Were going crazy. Kansas's team was going crazy on the sideline. Defense was all like amped up, taking the field, getting everyone rolling. It's the perfect opportunity to use that aggression and those defensive guys like chomping at the bit to go make a play, use that against them and run a reverse. It was a perfect play call for the time.
Yeah. Everyone is giving Caleb Williams a ton of credit for that play, and they should, right? Once again, maybe the smartest play I've ever seen in a football game. The fact that Kennedy Brooks, and we talked to Kennedy after the game, he was like, yeah, I saw it was him. So I kind of was just like, all right, man, here you go.
Take it.
to let him take it, I think that, you have to acknowledge that was also a huge part of that play. So Kennedy deserves credit for that. I thought he ran tough again, man. There was not a lot of space for him. And he continues to impress me with how physical of a runner he is this season. He's more physical than he's been in the past. And he is, I think right now, he's their most consistent player. And I'm sure he's had some errors, like, then I just don't know the running back position well enough to diagnose all of them, when it comes to what he's reading and some of the concepts and things like that. But man, I feel like he's the same dude every Saturday. And that's really what you're after, is to know what you're going to get from your guys. And Ted, I feel like we know exactly what we're getting from Kennedy Brooks every Saturday.
He's turned into a player that is rarely tackled by the first guy. And if he is tackled by the first guy, he's usually falling forward for 2 or 3 or 4 yards after contact. It's amazing. I think I said during the broadcast that he runs like he's 235 pounds. It's what it looks like. He's tough, man, because there's been some big collisions with safeties coming down and trying to just, put a huge shot on him, and he just runs right through it, man. Impressive.
Yep. I will say, I also thought Eric Gray, he's a nice little weapon in the passing game. Like, he doesn't get a ton of touches, but I think that's something that Lincoln's going to continue to go to, because when you get him the ball in space, man, he's a dynamic player out there on the perimeter. So I think that's something that they'll keep doing moving forward. All right, well, I guess it's time to talk offensive line. Everyone's favorite part of the podcast. Deal with it, people. It's what I know. It's what I love. Okay, so I was really hoping that they would keep the momentum from their TCU performance rolling, because they played well, and it was by far the best game they had played against TCU. But man, they didn't play this game at the level I was hoping they would play it at. And if I'm being honest, like, if I go through and look at the grades that I've got for the guys, it's not like they're horrible. I mean, they didn't grade out poorly, but the thing is, you got to keep reminding yourself, it's Kansas, right? And that matters. Like, when you play Kansas, and once again, all the credit to those kids for battling their ass off, like, all the credit to them, but they should push Kansas's defensive line around. That's just the truth. And it wasn't like they were dominating them. Like, yes, were they getting the job done the vast majority of the time? Yes, but once again, when you're playing a team that does not have a even decent front seven defensively, you have to whoop their ass early and often. You have to let them know, especially the first couple of drives of the game, that this is going to be a miserable day for them. And that's the exact opposite of what happened. And it made those guys on Kansas's defensive front, that front seven, that entire defense believe. And they gave them all they wanted, man. And now it was interesting, for the first time all year, I think Bill Bedenbaugh just rolled with 5 guys on the offensive line. Like, all 5 guys played every single snap. So maybe he settled on that 5, but I'll say this. I did think several of the issues in the run game, I know when run plays don't go well, everyone says, well, the offensive line needs to block people. I'm telling you right now, Braden Willis, Jeremiah Hall, who, by the way, I think Jeremiah Hall is beat the hell up, and I think he's playing through it.
Yeah.
Those guys at times are getting worked at the point of attack. And they put them in tough spots. Don't get me wrong. I've talked about that all season. But it's Kansas. And there's a couple plays that are dead on arrival because Kansas's edge players are getting after the tight ends and H-backs. Like, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Now, I'm not making it sound like the offensive line just dominated this game. They didn't. That definitely didn't. But the thing about this game is guys taking turns killing plays. And that is a tough way. It's a tough way to play successful offensive football.
Well, everything that you're talking about, it's really you can look at the entire team as a whole and just say that it's Kansas, and credit Kansas, yes, but to the untrained eye, if you put different uniforms on these teams, like that's a level playing field between those two football teams. You couldn't tell much difference between them. Like, we didn't have any player that to me was just like standing out. Like Kennedy Brooks, you could tell he was the best running back on the day, but I don't know what did Neal have for Kansas. We made him look great too. So it was crazy that those two teams look as even as they did. There's no way the number 2 team or 3 team in the country should ever look anywhere near even with a team that probably ranks like they're over 100, both offensively and defensively. That offense with the starters in, you heard it on this podcast, had not scored more than 1 touchdown against anyone in the Big 12. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just go through the alignment now that we're all thoroughly depressed.
Sorry for that. Sorry I derailed you, but
no. I think I think people are listening to this episode they're probably not listening. Maybe they're hoping we were going to make them feel better. I don't think we're making anyone feel better, but we're just telling people what we saw.
Right.
And if it doesn't make them happy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. Okay, Andrew Raym. Now I felt like he took a big step forward in the TCU game with the way that he played, just how much calmer he was in his technique and his demeanor. Well, that kind of went off the rails in the Kansas game. And I thought he took a little step back in this one for whatever reason. I don't know. It was a confusing game from him, reverted back to some of the issues that he's been having, especially earlier in the season. Now, I did think he did a solid job communicating, right? And they gave up the 1 sack on the opening drive on the 3rd down. And that was something I will say. I'd watched every defensive snap from Kansas this season. They had not shown that look. They had not shown Bear with Kyron Johnson playing backer behind it. Hadn't seen it. So you go 5-0 all of a sudden. And 5-0, I mean, center's blocking the head up guy, guards are blocking the 3 techniques, tackles are blocking the 2 defensive ends. So Bear, all the offensive linemen are covered. They took their best rusher and put him basically at a Mike Backer position while they were in Bear. And he ran scot-free. Now, you still should be squeezing that if you're in empty protection. So that's still on Chris Murray and Tyrese Robinson on the right side. If you're in empty protection, if you're on the back side and he's free releasing, you have to assume the defensive end is going to peel with the back if they're bringing pressure. So you squeeze. You have to squeeze. You have to have your eyes inside on that backer, especially when it's Kyron Johnson, their best player on defense. So I tried to make an excuse for him, and now I'm just getting angry with the excuse I tried to make for him. But still, they made the adjustment, and for whatever reason, Kansas never went back to that. I don't know why. But that was something that'll come. Like, Raym will be able to diagnose that in the future without having to go on the whiteboard on the sideline and Bill having to show him, because he'll realize, hey, that's their best rusher. We need to account for him. An offensive lineman needs to account for him. That's something, hopefully, that now he will know going forward. But as far as the way he played, he's just out of control too often. And at times it looked similar to the way that he played against Nebraska, where it's just like he's on ice skates at times. But I'm still excited for his future. I think I think that will probably be a learning experience more than anything. But yeah, he's not going to be happy with the way that he played. Marquise Hayes, Few plays in the running game where I thought he was skating around guys, using some bad footwork, resulted in him kind of getting washed. And that's not what you want, being off balance. It's definitely not what you want. That's not how you want to play at the line of scrimmage. You want to play with force. You want to play through guys. You don't want to skate around them. But he's still playing much better than what we saw from him early in the year. And I'll say this. I know he got the personal foul. I loved seeing it. I know that sounds weird because it's a big penalty, and I think it put him in like 2nd and 37. But
they ended up converting that, right?
Right.
They got the face mask.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the face mask on Heupel. Yeah. And I had been wondering, right? And I talked about it on here. I'd been wondering where that guy went. It was good to see that guy. Right? Like, that is, you have to play on that edge. Now, I will say this. I thought it was a soft personal foul. He got a personal foul for bullying that guy. That's what he got it for. That's football. I don't know why that's a personal foul. Take it, nerd.
Yeah, but he got the pancake and then added the other pancake on top.
Yeah,
of it.
pancake to pancake, little syrup on top, Ted. That's what you're coached to do. I don't have a problem with it. Right? Now, if it becomes like some compounding issue, also, you're not going to just destroy human beings like that on a regular basis on the field. That's kind of hard to do, what he did to that kid, but I'm fine with it. Some people may disagree with me. I'm fine with it. But overall, I thought Marquise pretty solid day. Chris Murray, another solid performance. The only thing, couple times, some of those key plays, those 4th downs, getting stuffed a little bit, little stalemate, kind of on the 4th and 1 play that Williams ended up taking from Brooks. You got to get some movement in those situations. But Chris, he continues to play good ball for him. Tyrese Robinson, he looked much healthier this week, moved well, and I was a little concerned about that, but I thought he did a solid job again. And you talked about it earlier, Ted. You hinted at it. He was the one that gave up way too much penetration on the 4th and 1 on the Kennedy Brooks that ended up in Caleb Williams' hands to get the first down. That was the problem area of that play. Now, I don't love how they're running the split zone, particularly right there, like how they don't press it front side and then cut it back, but that's a different discussion for a different day. You can't give up that amount of penetration. I mean, it's 4th in the game, essentially. Mm-hmm. And it just can't happen. But other than that play, and I know that play will bother Tyrese, but other than that play, once again, man, he is pretty solid. But overall, it didn't look the way it should look against Kansas. I don't know how to describe it, because when you watch the film, it's like, oh yeah, he's covering that guy up. Like, they're double teaming that guy. It's like, dude, you should be mauling dudes when they're just not talented on the defensive line at all. I mean, they got no twitch, nothing. And it was just like, all right, let's get in their way. And I guess you give them a plus when you're grading it. Like, I was sitting there like, I guess that's his job, but I don't know. I didn't feel like it looked the way it was supposed to look, which leads me to talking about Anton Harrison. He played his best game last week, and he was back on his bullshit at times this week. I can't figure him out as a player. There's just way too many plays where, what's the best way to put it? He was the nail instead of the hammer.
Yeah.
I think that's like and it was weird because he brought physicality in the TCU game, and that was just gone for the majority of this one. He did not bring the level of physicality that you want, and I don't know why. And at one point it looked like he was hurt, like he had a bad limp going. I was like, wait, what happened? So I was trying to search through the film to see what happened. I couldn't see. So he just confuses me, man. I don't know how else to put, like, he's so talented. And I thought that last week, like maybe the light had come on and like this was the guy we were going to see moving forward and he was going to build on that. And then plays the way he played. I don't know. It's just, you know how we said, hey, Kennedy Brooks, you know what you're going to get. Dude, I don't know what the hell is going to happen with 71. Not only like on a series by series basis, but like a down by down. Like it's like, all right, let's see which version of him shows up this play. It's weird.
Well, and again, it's Kansas. So if there was a game to show up physically and dominate, this would have been the week. But I don't know. It's interesting. And I don't know if just overall this team, we're banged up. I think we're banged up. That's well documented. We've played 8 straight games with no bye week. That's well documented. I think the guys are probably a little worn out, but you got one more. You got Tech, and I hate to tell you something, but their passing offense is light years better than what we just witnessed against Kansas. So my hope is this was just one of those weeks where they knew it was Kansas, prepared like it was Kansas, went out there and played like it was Kansas, and almost got beat. But that's like a one-off type of performance, because that performance gets you beat literally by almost everyone else in college football. You know?
Yeah, no, I know. I was the one, you know, when we were doing the preview episode saying how bad the Kansas defense was. OU goes 5 plays and 3 plays on their first 2 drives. And I was like, I look like the dumbest person on planet Earth. I'm just glad it's over. I mean, everything was weird. The power went out. Like I was threatening students. They were talking all kinds of crazy to me in the front row. Like it was just, what an experience we had in Lawrence.
Yeah. It was, hopefully, I think it's probably the last trip we ever have there.
I would bet a lot of money it is. Can't imagine we'll come back to Lawrence in 2 years. Don't see that happen. Okay, let's get to call your shot. Got a couple questions here, Ted. This one comes from Jalinda on Twitter. Says, I have a question for Teddy. Why don't we blitz more? I do not pretend to know or understand defensive schemes, but it seems like when we do blitz, good to better things happen. Just wondering what the rationale might be. I love how she put that. Good to better things happen.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a philosophical thing. There's always the dilemma whenever you're not covering well, do you blitz? Well, if you blitz, you're giving up a pass defender for someone rushing the quarterback. And that can be great, but it can also be terrible if it's picked up and you're even thinner on the back end than you were before. You know, I think you just got to pick your times to be aggressive. And I think it probably tells us something about the personnel that Gritch doesn't like. Like whenever you call blitzes and they don't get home, it's bad. It's bad whenever you're adding guys to the rush and you don't get there because you're exposing people in the back end. And my guess, with all the injuries that they've had, he didn't want to expose the guys on the back end any more than they already were. Yeah. Just a guess.
No, I think that is sound reasoning. Okay, you know what I forgot to do? I was dreading talking about Kansas so much. I forgot the birthday shout outs.
I was wondering. I was like, wow, I thought we were going to have a bunch of birthday shout outs, but.
Okay, let's start with this one. Brian Wilder. Happy 47th birthday, Brian.
Nice. 47.
Your son Drew loves you very much. So happy birthday, Brian. Happy 47th. Nice. And then happy 60th, the big 6-0 to Jeff Lemke. Jeff, That's a big one. 6-0, Ted.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. That's a big one. I like that. 60.
60 and thriving, Jeff
right.
Lemke, I'm sure. 60 and thriving. Sorry I didn't do him at the start. Hopefully you kept listening. I know you may have gotten a little too upset with the way Teddy was talking about the defense, not giving you much hope. I understand it. All right, Ted. Oh, man. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about Oklahoma State losing. Maybe it'll make us feel better. It's so funny, dude. OU's 8-0, and it feels like they've lost 3 games.
I know it, man. It's wild. The first time this OU has been 8-0 since 2004. There's been some really, really good football teams between then and now. It's wild.
And this is the one that is 8-0.
Enjoy it.
An undefeated yet flawed football team. That's probably the best way to put it. All right. Do you own a business? If you do, you need Insurica in your life. Insurica is one of the country's largest insurance brokers with 30 offices throughout Oklahoma, Texas, and the Southwest. Insurica is able to customize programs by accessing the latest information from many insurance carriers. They compare and contrast coverage offerings and pricing in order to design a cost-effective, comprehensive program to meet your business's specific needs. Insurica's clients become best-in-class businesses by working with Insurica's team of advisors to manage risk. Purchasing insurance is only one way to protect your business. Best-in-class businesses win by avoiding a loss in the first place. If your business partners with Insurica, you'll save huge amounts of money and take back control of your total cost of risk. I'm an Insurica client, and you should be too. If your business wants to be best in class, connect with Insurica at insurica.com. That's INSURICA.com.
Guys, fall is here, but does weather really matter? It's always hard seltzer season, baby. And there's only one hard seltzer that we drink on this podcast, and that is Sonic Hard Seltzer from Coop Ale Works. It's perfect for any occasion. We drink it in the hot tub, by the fire, and at the tailgate. You can buy 12 packs of the iconic Sonic drive-in flavors like cherry limeade and ocean water, or you can grab a citrus variety pack or tropical variety pack. Find it at your local grocery, convenience, and liquor stores.
Nailed it. God, you're good.
And I see you guys in the mentions, slowly but surely converting. I like it. Keep it coming, man.
Yeah. Let Teddy know he's doing great jobs, doing a great job with the ad reads, because he is. Okay, Oklahoma State goes to Ames and loses 24-21. And Ted, this game was pretty much exactly what we expected it to be. Knew this one was going to be a physical football game. Both teams, like we said, kind of struggled to run it with Breece Hall. Jalen Warren had 76 yards rushing. Breece Hall only had 70 yards rushing. I did think that overall, both quarterbacks, for what I was expecting from them, played pretty damn well. Took care of the football for the most part. I mean, Spencer Sanders had some dimes in this game. That TD throw, the touchdown to Tay Martin in the fourth quarter, I mean, that was a hell of a throw with the pocket collapsing around him. I was like, wow, okay, yeah, he's got that. But you just got to give credit to Iowa State. They played the style of game they wanted to play, and their offense answered after Oklahoma State took the lead in the fourth quarter, and then their defense got stops. But as much as we talked about how important the running game was going to be heading in this one, and as much as we talked about the defenses, this game was really decided by field goal kicking, which makes me sad to say out loud, but I felt like the difference in the game was field goal kicking, coaches' decision-making, and maybe the fact that Fox didn't have a good angle of whether Brennan Presley was laying on top of Godleski or not. I feel like those were the 3 things.
Yeah. Yeah, field goal kicking is, in a game like that, it's always going to be frustrating. But no, I thought it was. I'll tell you what I think is interesting is that back-to-back Brock Purdy games where he's starting to look really good. And that's against a top 10 football team that is really, really good defensively, can do a bunch of different things out there. And he had another really sharp performance. Was he like 6 incompletions over 300 yards? Took care of the ball. Iowa State, unfortunately, is going to be rounding into shape right at the time we get to see him.
How unfortunate. Now, looking at some of the guys that really stood out to me in that game, Brennan Presley. I mean, he's not a very big guy, but he made some huge plays for Oklahoma State in this game. The diving touchdown catch early, then obviously everyone saw the one where he climbed the ladder for the awesome catch, touchdown catch before the half. But I think he got that first down, man. I do. Like, I've watched it 10 times. I think he was laying on top of the center.
Yeah.
And I think the center made a great play. Like, he pulled him over the first down. Like, I still think it was a first down. Now, some people will say, oh, well, you can't have it come down to that. And why'd they throw that in that situation? I guess that's a valid question. But I think he got the first down. I've watched it so many times, and there's not an angle where I see his shin down or his elbow down or anything down, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a weird play. I think I tend to agree with you. You've got to just kind of like piece things together and look at it and say that you don't think it was down, but I don't know, man. That's a tough call to make, but I tend to agree. It's hard to say with Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I understand. You're incapable of doing that. But Xavier Hutchinson, man, he looked like the best player on the field to me. That and the unsportsmanlike conduct on him, that referee should be arrested, because I can't. People that don't like other people experiencing joy, we need to rid ourselves of those people. Throw them in prison, because that was the dumbest call. Like, are you really trying to have that big of an impact on the football game if you're the official? Like, and thank God they scored a couple plays later, and it was actually Hutchinson that caught it. But you cannot make that call in that situation in a game that big. You cannot do that if you're an official. It's ridiculous, man.
We've talked about it, that there's no way that should be, like, if you want to call it a penalty, I disagree, but there's no way that should be the, like, you can't take touchdowns away for something like that. You can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. We've had that discussion. Everyone knows how I feel about it. I think it's ridiculous, but I'm with you. It's a good thing they did score again, because that's like the whole goal of being an official, is to not make yourself the deciding factor of the game. Now, if something happens, it happens. I understand that, but my goodness. And, at the end of the day, we probably shouldn't be mad at the officials. They're getting, like, they have the committees that say, like, this is the things that we want to crack down on. And that was one of them this year. And it's stupid.
Yeah, because kids shouldn't have fun. You shouldn't enjoy catching a massive touchdown in a big game in your home stadium. How dare Xavier Hutchinson almost high step kinda before he scored. I was furious. But the last thing I want to talk about that game, I have been expressing my frustration with how conservative Mike Gundy is in some of these situations. And he elected to have Tanner Brown try a 50-yard field goal instead of going for it on 4th and 2. On the other side, and then again, he thought, it was 4th and 1 midway through the third quarter. He trots Brown out there again. Now, this is a kick you should make. There's no doubt about it. But He missed that one. I thought he should have gone for it then too. I mean, give the ball to Jaylen Warren. It's 1 yard.
Yeah, I don't know. Those calls are always. It's easy to criticize those, but you should be able to make a field goal, number one. And they were having a hard time running the football. I have a hard time. There's some calls that he's made in the past that I've thought were really bad. These, I don't know. I know it's easy to say it's a dumb call at the end, but you know, if Caleb Williams doesn't come in and take the ball from Kennedy Brooks, well, that was a dumb call too, going for it on your own into the field when you just gave up a scoring drive to Kansas. So it's hard, man. Just make the field goals and it's a little bit easier, you know?
Yeah. That's why you be nice to kickers, Ted. I've been telling you for this for years. But I will say I did love how aggressive Matt Campbell was in some of those situations, especially early. They went forward to 4th and goal. Great throw and catch from Purdy to Hutchinson there. I liked him going for it on 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter. I hated the play call. I don't know why they would run Brock Purdy in that situation. That was I don't know how him running that play instead of getting the ball to Breece Hall or throwing it to Hutchinson or Kohler. Like I don't know how you say, yes, 4th and 2, we're dialing up the Sam Ehlinger run game for Brock Purdy. That was odd. I was like, what the hell was that?
Do you think what team, Iowa State or Oklahoma State, do you think is the more difficult matchup for Oklahoma? Forget that we're playing Iowa State at home and OSU on the road. Just like neutral site, like maybe it'll be a Big 12 championship. I don't know, but is there one of those teams that you think is a more difficult matchup?
They're very similar football teams in my mind. I think Iowa State is a tougher matchup for Oklahoma.
I agree, and namely because of Xavier Hutchinson.
He is a problem. Now, I will say, Brendan Presley probably going to rack up some yards on Oklahoma. Tay Martin probably going to catch a couple of explosive plays with their plan, with the way that OU's playing in the back end right now. But the one thing, Iowa State's defensive line and Oklahoma State's defensive line is physical as hell too. I think they're going to have problems blocking both of those groups.
Yeah,
I do. So luckily, they don't play them this week. They play Tech. So they got time to get better, Ted.
Yeah. Those 3 games to end the season, buddy. Every single one of them is going to be an absolute dogfight, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Sooners better get better.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now. It's obvious. I think it goes without saying. Like, they play the way they played against Kansas, they're losing all 3 of those teams. I mean, there's no doubt. But
if they play the way they've played against pretty much everyone this year, they might lose to all 3 of those teams.
That's kind of how I feel also.
Yeah, I know, which is scary, right?
Yeah. Okay, Ohio State, Indiana. We previewed this game just to talk about how good Ohio State was. And, well, they're good. 54-7 in Bloomington. Our man Dusty Dvoracek, I'm glad he was able to stay awake for the second half of this call because, now I will say the first quarter was entertaining, and then it all went wrong for Indiana. And I don't think we really need to recap a game that was 44-7 at halftime. But I do think it's important to acknowledge that Ohio State looks fantastic right now. And I'm hoping, and Oklahoma, let's be real, OU does not have the talent that Ohio State has. They just don't have that level of talent up and down the roster, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But if Ohio State can get better and look this good, I'm holding out hope that Oklahoma can improve as well. That's where I thought, because, man, C.J. Stroud, Travion Henderson, that wide receiver core. I mean, by the way, their offensive line, they got a couple of guys that are giants. I mean, massive human beings. And I'm just hoping the Sooners can improve like the Buckeyes have. Right?
Yeah.
They figured things out defensively for the most part. They look more multiple, playing some more coverages, executing better, defensive line getting after it. It's a dangerous squad, man. But I was like, yes, they can get better. So yeah, OU can get better. It's possible.
Yeah. Now, they have played 3 of the lower ranked teams in the Big Ten the
Some
last
get right games.
3 games, and CJ Stroud, all he's done is be excellent in all of those games. 14 touchdowns, no interceptions in the last 3 games. Yeah, I'd say they're getting right. And you mentioned it defensively. Maryland is better offensively. Even Rutgers is better. They've come around. They figured some things out, and they're going to be tough to deal with. But it's about to get really difficult for Ohio State. We'll see if it's for real the next 4 weeks.
Yep. All right, let's get to our winners and losers of the weekend. But first, are you doing this one, or am I doing it?
Yeah, I'm doing it. Of course.
Let's
Sorry.
go.
Are you unhappy with the surface around your pool? Are you not pleased with your patio? Soft Rock specializes in installing safe rubber surfacing for pools, patios, gym floors, and other outdoor spaces. Soft Rock's rubber safety surfacing provides a long-lasting surface that is impact and slip resistant, fully customizable, and virtually indestructible. Local business owners Heidi and Cody Clark are avid OU fans that are driven to help you with all your pool and patio surfacing needs. Visit softrock.com/OKC. That's FOTROC.com/OKC for more information. The Clarks also own The Driveway Company. The Driveway Company has tailored solutions to eliminate all of your driveway problems. They can repair cracks, clean and seal your rotting grass-filled joints to prevent water damage, ultimately saving you thousands of dollars in future repairs. Visit thedrivewaycompany.com/OKC for all of your driveway repair needs. Learn more about Soft Rock and the Driveway Company by visiting their Facebook and Instagram pages or by calling 405-294-9834.
And make sure you send your kids to Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School. Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School has a long tradition of educational excellence. With a 12-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio, no student is overlooked. Bishop McGinnis's college prep curriculum offers 22 AP courses. There are numerous clubs and organizations for students to join. And as a proud member of the OSSAA, there are 14 sports offered. If you want to provide the best possible educational and spiritual development for your children, contact Bishop McGinnis Catholic High School or visit bmchs.org. Financial aid is available. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the weekend?
I've got to go with Tennessee, Heupel, Tennessee fans, whoever exactly you want to put that on. Now, I know they got beat by Alabama, and I know the final was 52-24, but that football game was 31-24 with 14:30 left in the fourth quarter. Alabama opens it up. They score 3 touchdowns down the stretch. They're actually in really quick back-to-back fashion to blow that thing open. But, man, I think Heupel's done a heck of a job there. Hendon Hooker's quarterback is coming around, starting to play well. He's also been a little bit banged up. But, man, I feel like he's done a really good job with this group. Hooker threw 3 touchdowns, 1 interception against Alabama. I say that's pretty good, man. They've got some stuff rolling. I'm proud of what Heupel's done with Tennessee. For the first time, it looks like they've actually made some headway, and he's doing it without most of his best players that transferred out of town before the season started.
I think usually one of the easiest ways to gauge how a coach is doing is to Twitter search his name. And while some people are just making hype for the way that he looks now, there are quite a few Tennessee fans that have some hope moving forward with the way that their team has looked the last couple of weeks, especially. Right? I mean, you look at how entertaining and close, and I know the fans acted a fool at the end of it, but that Ole Miss game, like Ole Miss is a pretty damn good team, and Tennessee played him to the wire. And then you look at the Bama game, man. I was watching it Saturday night, drink in hand, like, hey, this thing is fun to watch. And these teams, like, for the vast majority of that game till it kind of went off the rails late, Tennessee looks like they belonged with Bama. Yeah. And I think it's been a while since you've been able to say that.
No, I know. And Alabama, that stadium was getting nervous there whenever Tennessee, closed in there, scored that touchdown in the fourth quarter. And now all of a sudden they're a touchdown away. It's getting a little restless in there, like, what's going on? And obviously they answer the call and do so pretty quickly. But, one of the things that you always have to look at is how do the players play for their coach whenever they know that they're outmanned, outgunned, and it looks like this group goes out and fights, and I think that says a lot about what they think about Heupel. And Heupel's one of those guys that there's a bunch of head coaches that are going to go out and win the press conference. They got big personalities. They're going to woo donors, and the media they're just the best because they give you the statements and the quotes that you want. Hype's not going to do that, but you got to kind of look a little bit, read between the lines, or dig a little bit deeper to see what the team actually thinks of him. And I think the way they play says a whole heck of a lot.
No, I'm with you. And remember, one of the big concerns with him getting that job was, okay, is he going to be able to, relate to the players? Is he going to be able to recruit? And it's, well, playing an entertaining brand of football is a really good recruiting tool. And what we've talked about this in the past, Ted, like, yes, they've lost some games. What are they, 4-4 now? But that's an entertaining team to watch.
No, I agree.
They're fun to watch. So I'm with you, man. I'm happy for Hype. He appears to have things headed in the proper direction there in Knoxville. So we'll see. We'll see. It'll take a while to kind of judge. It'll be a couple years till we see what he actually is able to get done there. But yeah, man, I think a lot of people close to that program. I randomly know some people that are pretty dialed in at Tennessee. I was texting with them during the game because I was like, if you guys beat Bama, this is going to be insane. And they all seem to be really happy with where Hype's got that team. So I thought it's awesome. Pretty cool, man.
That's good. I love it. Love it for him.
Who do you have as your loser of the weekend?
The National Football League, NFL. It's the Washington football team investigation. The whole Gruden deal was pretty ugly, and it had a lot of people asking a lot of questions about the investigation itself. How in the world did an email about Gruden from 2011 get out? But what they were actually investigating, the workplace environment there for the Washington football team, like nothing leaked at all from that really long investigation. So a lot of people were asking questions about that. And now Congress is asking questions about that. And it's never good whenever Congress wants to get someone there in front and fire a bunch of questions their way. The Committee on Oversight and Reform and the Committee on Economic and Consumer Policy have requested documents from the NFL and information concerning the Washington football team's hostile workplace culture and NFL's investigation into the the matter. And I don't know what happens. I don't know if they get any of those documents, but that is not a good sign for the NFL. A lot of people believe that there's a lot of things that were found in some of those emails that are at some point, someday, going to finally surface. And this is maybe a step in that direction for the NFL.
Okay. So if you're new to the podcast, there are very few things Teddy loves more than a good conspiracy theory. So let's have it.
Yes.
Let's give me your top 2 or 3 conspiracy theory predictions from this whole thing. What do you got there, big guy? Come on. I know you thought of some weird stuff. Let's just put it out there.
I really don't have anything on this as far as conspiracy theory. I know a lot of people just believe that there were some really bad things in those emails. I think it ended up being like a $10 million settlement that was paid out or whatever. And there's a lot of people frustrated that, and people that actually involved in the lawsuit were upset that some of the other stuff made it out, but the things that were actually bad and having to do with the investigation have not been released. So there's been a lot of different people ask for those emails, and I don't know. It just makes you wonder what's in there, but I don't know. I don't have any conspiracy theories, but
you do. You do. You're just not telling us.
I really don't. Yeah, dude, you know me. If I had a conspiracy theory on it, I would lay it out.
I was hoping you had like a real dark one that you're like, I don't know if I would have said it, but it's okay. No, you'll have them eventually.
Yeah. All it takes is one like oddly worded email to someone or a group of people that I'll spark. Well, you know who that guy works for, don't you?
Oh,
you know who he's married to, don't you? Yeah, I'll start down that road.
Conspiracy Ted, my favorite Ted. You know, did you say $10 million settlement?
Well, yeah, I think originally the Washington football team had to pay $10 million on that deal. Now, I think Daniel Snyder himself had to pay a couple of other sexual misconduct settlements. Like one of them is for 1.6 million, and there's some other ones out there. But yeah, I think either the NFL they had to pay $10 million. The Washington football team did, I believe.
Gotcha. All right. Well, those people could probably use some whiskey or bourbon right now. And if you're a whiskey or bourbon drinker, stop what you're doing. Head to your favorite liquor store and buy some Balcones products. You got to grab some of Balcones Lineage Single Malt Whiskey. It was just voted one of the top 20 whiskeys in the world by Whiskey Advocate, and you'll be shocked by how affordable it is. Also, you got to snag some of the Balcones Baby Blue Corn Whiskey. It's made from blue corn. That's the fancy corn, and that is why it has won more than 25 awards. Last but certainly not least, you got to buy some of Balcones Pot Still Bourbon. Its big flavors make it the perfect bourbon to drink year-round. In 2012, Balcones Single Malt won the Best in Glass competition, beating brands like Johnny Walker and Macallan, and became the first American distiller to win the competition. This stuff is the real deal, people. If you love great whiskey and bourbon at a great price, then Balcones products are the only way to go. The whiskey may be made in Texas, but the owners are from Oklahoma. To find a liquor store that has it, visit balconesdistilling.com. All right, for my winner of the weekend, thought about going with Max Verstappen. It was a good one in the U.S. Grand Prix, although it was in Austin, Ted, your favorite city in the country. But came down, and I will say, why? So I like watching the Formula One races, but one of the reasons I like watching it because they come on in the morning because they're in like Europe, right? So they're on like early in the morning on Sunday. It gets me some. I'm up with my son. I'm putting him through his little drills, and I'm watching Formula One. But this one was actually in the U.S., so it was on at like 2 p.m. I was like, what the hell's going on here?
No, NFL Sunday. That screws up the whole. There's the ratings had to dive on that. No one's going to watch that instead of football.
Yeah, I'm watching Red Zone.
Yeah.
Now I had Formula One going on the iPad, and it did come down. Hey, it came down to the last 3 laps of the old Grand Prix, and Verstappen was able to hold off Lewis Hamilton. It was pretty exciting stuff. I've said it was, but it was ridiculous. It was during the middle of like all the NFL games. I was like, what are they doing? It was bizarre, but I mean, just an absurd idea. Know your country, guys.
I guess it's hard to pull off a race of that size early in the morning. All of the things that you've got to do to get the track ready and get all the, I don't know. I guess that's the only thing I could guess. I don't know.
Yeah. I think they're doing
get out of bed earlier.
They're doing one in Miami next year. I think it's in like March or May. I think it's in May.
You going?
I just might. It would be sweet, right? I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we come.
Where did they have it in Austin? Was it going through like downtown and stuff?
There's just like this giant track.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the Circuit of the Americas or whatever.
Because some of those places have them like where they partially go through.
They go through like the city. It's insane.
Yeah. Awesome.
And there's your Formula One talk. You're welcome. But my winner of the weekend, the Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about it on the last episode. We decided the Bengals were indeed good. I'm not sure we knew they were this good, Ted, but it is official. The Cincinnati Bengals are a legit football team. They go to Baltimore and smack the Ravens 41-17. With an absolute explosion on offense in the second half. The Bengals defense, I mean, they played really well. They got after Lamar Jackson. He was under pressure a lot in that football game. And it was an absolutely massive day for Joe Burrow in that passing game. So many explosive plays, couple to the tight end, CJ Uzomah, and then Jamar Chase is that dude. I mean, whoa, 201 yards receiving, touchdown. Both Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine repping the Sooners, baby. Both had long touchdown runs. Perine, I see you with the speed, man. I see it. Still got it. But
dude, it's that whole division. The whole AFC North is all Sooners. It seems like it's crazy.
A lot of representation up there, but that was impressive. Now, on the Baltimore side of things, Hollywood had a sweet touchdown catch. Really nice catch. But, man, the Bengals went to Baltimore and set the tone.
Who's the best team in that division?
The Bengals.
You think so?
Until the Browns are healthy? What, are you going to say the Steelers with the way that Ben Roethlisberger looks? There's no way.
I guess that's right.
It feels wrong to say the Bengals, but I also just watched, and I watched pretty much that entire game. I just watched them beat the Ravens down 41-7 in Baltimore.
They're both 5-2, and a head-to-head beatdown on the road. That's the
tiebreaker, right?
It comes down. The last game of the season is Cincinnati at Cleveland, January 9. They go their last 3 games, Ravens, Chiefs, at Cleveland. Whew.
Well, I don't know. Did you see the Chiefs-Titans game?
Yeah.
Man, that did not go well for our Chiefs. We love the Chiefs. Big Chiefs guys. They got 4 Sooners on that team, but I mean, the Titans punched them in the face, and
they almost broke their quarterback too in half.
That was
wow. Yeah.
Chiefs are struggling. We still love you guys though. Keep balling. Oh, the Bengals are good. This is going to take some time. It's going to take some time And it does feel like they're a bit ahead of schedule, right? This is like a season too early for them to be good, but I trust what I see with my eyes. And I watched them destroy the Ravens defense today. And I know the Ravens defense isn't, the Ravens defenses of old, but
Well, they also handled their offense.
right. That was the impressive part. Shut it
Who's
down.
the DC there in Cincinnati?
I have no idea.
I don't either. But hey, I know a lot of people were not happy with Zach Taylor and how things were going early on, but looking good right now, man.
Yeah, I would assume that this says Lou Anarumo.
Well, Lou had it dialed in today.
Good job,
Good
Lou. Great job. Okay, for my loser of the weekend, thought about going, I don't know who this human being is, but thought about going with the Tampa Bay Bucks fan that gave Tom Brady's 600th touchdown ball back to that Bucks staffer. Like, there was a handshake after he gave, I don't know what the agreement was, but dude, you got to leave the stadium with the ball and you create some leverage for yourself. Start a legit negotiation. What are you doing?
That's crazy. It reminds me of the Mark McGwire record home run ball where the guy had the ball and said he would give it back to Mark McGwire. All he wanted to do is meet Mark and shake his hand, and Mark McGwire said no.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely not. But
crazy.
Hey, and maybe Brady will reward that fan for being so cool about it. Hopefully, you would assume. But man, missed opportunity.
No,
right
you hang on to that thing. When you see what some of this stuff goes for, like, forget Brady. Like, if he wants it, he can buy it. But you go auction that thing off, man.
Man, what a missed opportunity. This why that there's a reason the phrase "nice guys finish last" exists, and that's a perfect example of it.
Well, you're telling me one of my biggest regrets is I didn't keep that damn football from the OU Texas deal back in 2001. Should have kept that football. Dumb.
So
I even thought about later just grabbing a random football and claiming that I did keep it.
You should have. By the way, the Bucks just absolutely destroyed the Chicago Bears. Matt Nagy's got to be gone soon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that game was about as uncompetitive as an NFL game can look. Like, they beat the hell out of them.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird.
Uncompetitive, non-competitive, non-competitive, uncompetitive, non? Un. That's what we're going with. This is as uncompetitive as I've seen in a while. Now I feel like you're switching to non now.
Neither one of them sound good. It was the least.
It was not competitive. There we go. Problem solved. Okay, but my loser of the weekend, Penn State, man. What the hell was that? Just an absolutely gross loss to Illinois in Happy Valley. I mean, Brett Bielema basically said his players sucked this week. And then Illinois showed up to Penn State's house and kicked their ass, man. I mean, they ran it straight down their face. The two running backs, Chase Brown and Joshua McCray for the Illini, combined for 365 yards rushing.
Wow.
I thought Penn State's defense was good. What was that? And I thought Illinois really did control the game in regulations, but somehow it went to overtime. And we got to see the new overtime rules at work, and they played 9 overtimes. 9. And reminder, now after 2 overtimes, it turns into a 2-point conversion shootout, which sounds exciting and exhilarating and like it will create drama and tension. And it did. but both teams kicked field goals in the first 2 overtimes. So it was 16-16. And then Ted, neither team scored till the 8th. It was
and
like
it takes all the time in between getting the new offense out there.
they were going to the opposite end of the field. You sound like it did create excitement, but then when it happened 4 times in a row, I was like, I'm kind of over this.
In practice, whenever like you're doing a goal line drill or whatever, or just, anytime in practice, you've got like everyone like is like huddled around the drill. They should all just stay out there on the field and they just like boom, boom, back and forth, instead of like everyone going to the sideline and everything. We'll just stay out here.
Just, all right, everyone stand at the 50 and we'll just flip around and go to the other end. But Sean Clifford, he was open on the Phillies special type play they ran, but God, that tight end for Penn State cannot throw the damn football. That was bad, but that's a great win for Illinois, right? They end up winning it in the 9th overtime. Find the guy in the back of the end zone there, and there was certainly a lack of offensive execution in the overtime periods. But
how funny is that though? A 9 overtime game with a final score of 20-18.
I hope you hammered the under, people. God, but
people that bet the over were like, yes, we're going to overtime, baby. We got a shot.
How long do you think it took people to realize that once the 2-point conversion, like shootout started, that those scores were only worth 2 and not 6?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because when you think about it, it's like, okay, it is a 2-point off, but it kind of feels like it should be worth 6,
Well, it has to be worth 6. This is what makes me mad, is whenever you do something that doesn't fit within the rules of the game. And a 2-point, that is a conversion. That is a point after touchdown. That is not, it has to count as a touchdown, not as a 2-point conversion. I don't even know. How do you even score that? You can't even score that in the record books as a 2-point try. It can't be a 2-point try. You didn't score a touchdown.
Well, deal with it, Ted. I don't know what to tell you.
It
was word 2, which is how we ended up with 20-18. God, so good. But dude, that's just a bad loss for James Franklin. Right.
Back-to-back losses by 3 and by 2.
And with Ohio State coming up next week, with the way that team is playing,
they still got Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State left.
Yikes. But probably the most awkward part was Penn State had lost to Illinois in overtime. And I think it was Tennessee, Bama. They were still running the Penn State, Ohio State, a top 10 matchup for the next weekend. And I was like, no, it's not. That's a lie.
That's funny.
Oh, it's good stuff. All right, man. Episode 158 in the books. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Thursday morning. We will preview OU Texas Tech. Just a reminder, you can hear Teddy from 2 to 6 on 94.7 The Ref. You can hear me from 3 to 5 on Sirius XM Big 12 Radio, channel 375. Hope you all have a great week. Until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening, and do what you always do, Oklahoma. Take care of each other.